Well, good morning from IMEX. It's our very last day of the show, and we are talking to everybody about what is the sentiment going forward after the crazy 2 years we had. And we're here with really a guy who has so much experience in what a meeting is all about. Tyler Davidson, you are the editor.
Yep, the Vice President and Chief Content Director of Meetings Today.
And if you haven't read Meetings Today and you're listening to this, you should. So
And meetingstoday.com.
there you go. And so tell us, so when did, give us a little history lesson on Meetings Today.
Wow, where to start? Our parent corporation is Staymates Communications, and they started in 1927. The grandson currently is a CEO, so it's a family-owned company, and they started off as a printer. Um, and the reason they got in is a fascinating story. The reason they got into publishing magazines is because during World War II, I believe, there was a paper shortage. So to get a larger ration of paper, they went and bought Buildings magazines.
And we know special interest in publishing, tough business, but you guys do super well. Is there like a secret sauce in how you look at meetings? Like, walk us through like a typical issue. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, typical issue, we'll start off with our department section. And so there's a little snippets of interesting things out in the industry, little news items, some easy to digest sort of little stories. Then we get into our features well, and so those are very topical stories, such as conference centers or sustainability, our convention centers or CSR, topics like that. And then we get into our destination stories. So we split them up by region, East, Mid-America, South, and West. And that's really sort of the meat of our publication. It always has been, covering destinations. I know when Staymates bought what was California Meetings, I think, at first, the story is they, of course, polled planners, what is the most important thing for you? And destination selection
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And then,
So give me the
yeah,
trends on destinations. So
yeah,
clearly, budgets are tight.
yeah,
Attendance is getting up to pre-pandemic levels, but still a little low,
yeah,
right? Um, Cost of exhibiting, sustainability issues
sure.
are a real problem for this industry, and yet the destinations seem like they just want the last 2 years to go away. And I mean, are you seeing a move towards, okay, I'm a destination, we're going to do a combo of virtual and live? Are you seeing any appetite towards teching up?
I am seeing the virtual side of it really subside quickly. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the
We love
consent.
hearing it.
No. Well, I mean, but I think it turns into hybrid meetings, and so it's which is the combination of a virtual meeting and an in-person event. I just really think I'm a firm believer in people go to meetings like this to interact with people
Yes.
face to face. And so I think the growth opportunity in the future for virtual is, of course, like the before and during and after the event to connect people,
Yeah.
and kind of a constantly engaging atmosphere around the meeting.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think the education. Look, if Amazon sent 150 people to a meeting before the pandemic, they're going to send 20 now.
Yeah,
So the younger ones, I think, are not going to get the education they need. And the CEOs really have not that great interest in traveling and
hmm
staying at wherever. So I think there's a virtual component for them. But I know you also think a lot about data.
yeah.
And do you think one of the lessons of the pandemic was serendipity is not just enough for meetings anymore? It needs to be more intentional. Talk to me about that.
Well, definitely the data and analytics, and knowing who your audience is, your attendees are. Of course, their buying power, what their preferences are, and capturing that data. And then, depending on what your purpose is, marketing to them, getting them in connected with sponsors. There's just a wealth of data, and of course, like the biggest tech company probably in the industry would be like Cvent maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and them and others are all over that. I
They
mean,
are.
they are all over that, and it's really like an epiphany to me, or it has been. It's like Facebook's model. I mean, they are tracking your interests and things, and then they serve you content around that. It's pretty much the same thing.
It is, and yet there's so many issues with privacy
Yes,
around
there
this,
is.
and standardization. Well, first of all, virtual meetings, half the people that you think attended were really out shopping, but they left their Zoom window open.
I've never done that.
And 4 days later, they're still at the meeting.
Right. They are super engaged.
And so I think data standardization is going to be hugely important,
Yeah.
and data anonymity. Yes, I want to know your journey through my event, but I don't necessarily need to know it's you, Robin. You may be number
Exact.
A1025, right?
Yeah. 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 Privacy is a huge issue in data breaches, and there's going to continue to be legislation around that. You
Yes.
know.
We're a little behind Europe, but yep,
Right.
yep, for sure.
And another thing, I mean, we're really behind Europe, and this is one of the things I really learned at this event, sitting in on press conferences and talking to people, is in the sustainability arena. Europe is so ahead of the U.S. For instance, I sat in on the Incentive Travel Index report, and sustainability is right at the top of incentive buyers in Europe. In the US, didn't even crack the top 10 along with CSR. Yet everyone talks about it, everyone says it's a priority, but there's just a disconnect there
Yeah,
from on the buyer side.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. We call it greenwashing,
right,
but you're starting to see. I mean, even here at IMEX, I now know that 85% of the carpet is recycled. I know that there's a place to drop your extra swag and give it to people who need it. So I know the booths have new materials that are more reusable.
hmm
So I think part of the problem as the events industry is we did a lousy job of saying when we were moving forward towards sustainability.
continually. Always, there's always issues of communication, especially the value that a meeting will bring to a destination. The economic impact, the value of a meeting planner. I mean, I've covered this industry for 22 years. My, first interaction with MPI was, our mission is to get meeting planners a seat at the table. I just think that will always be the biggest challenge.
Yes.
And with things like data collection, and even internal meetings with a remote workforce. When you bring them in, having them interact in a very a good way to retain them. Maybe that
Yeah.
will increase their clout a bit in the future.
And I know we talked about this briefly, but you told me you heard this on the show floor. Reskilling. I mean,
Yeah.
are the colleges and the hospitality institutes actually preparing a next generation for jobs that may be very different in the events industry than they are now?
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, I just wrote a story about that maybe 6 months ago about the industry pipeline, and talked to many different college hospitality school college professors, and they really are. They do have that on their mind, the changing demands and skill sets that
Yeah.
they need to have,
Right. You got to
and
be a video producer, a social media
yeah.
person, and it's it really is changing. So now I have to ask you like the metaverse question. So there's not that much of it here, but do you think eventually, um, and it may not be your live event, but it
Yeah.
may be a 24/7 open office where you can do a product demo. Or, are you guys looking at that at meetings today?
There's destinations that I've seen. Atlanta is really jumping into that pool big time, and I got a demo of it. And of course, all of that is in its infancy. But I think the jury's out.
Yeah.
because a lot of people are kind of suspect it's a lot of hype, but things take a while to evolve,
Yeah,
and we'll wait and see what it looks
yeah.
like, right?
This digital twin of a destination, I don't think it's going to put IMEX out of
Right?
business anytime soon, but I think it's a great. I think it's going to be the cost of doing business
Hmm.
is to create. I know Marriott does it for all their resorts.
Oh
Where you
yeah.
can walk through a 3D version of every room. The ships are doing it. The cruise lines, and um, so what's going to be your
Well,
biggest story when you leave here?
when I would say, like my Second Life avatar is still sitting there for like about 7 years now, I think, and so go tap him on the shoulder and tell him to check out a Second Life maybe. But the biggest story in the next year, I think it's of course the return of in-person meetings. How hybrid will interact with that? Data collection is huge. This is the sophistication of meetings and events, and that's yet to really be tapped as well as it could. And I think in the shorter term, the return probably of international travel. Numbers in North America, domestic travel are good. Things are pacing in many cases at 2019 levels, which was a
Hmm.
very big year. But we've yet to see that internationally. So I think
Yeah.
that's the thing to look out for in the near future.
Okay, you guys, you heard it here.
Yeah,
You
you
know
heard
what
it
to look
here.
for next year.
You come
You
find me if it doesn't
you
happen.
heard it from the expert, and we will be talking to Tyler a lot during the year. Thank you for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it too.